Hey there, hi there, ho there. Welcome to the latest episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
Welcome to the May 11th, 2022 edition of Sports Frenzy. This will drop tomorrow morning, Thursday, the 12th. Kind of a slow week in sports, but of course, Dave and I will find a way to make it interesting.
We've always got something we can talk about. If you've not learned anything, this year plus that we've been doing this.
So first and foremost, baseball. The boys of summer, as it looks like summer has finally kind of hit here where we reside.
It went from late winter to summer.
Yeah, we don't
get spring anymore.
No. White Sox are doing much better. And I told you, no panic button yet, because that division just is not that strong, where I figured the White Sox get a couple breaks.
Yeah, we got to get healthy. We got to get a few things lined up. But the other night, 6-game winning streak snapped because of blown save. It never should have gotten to a save opportunity for Hendricks when the Sox were up 8-2 going into the top of the freaking ninth inning, and they give up 2 runs and a grand slam. Frustrating. And then Naylor with the grand slam winds up hitting a 3-run shot to seal it in the 11th. 2 freaking errors in the 9th. Moncada on an easy grounder and another Tim Anderson screwed up throw, which kept things going that they should have been out of it. Oh, it's so damn frustrating.
And you're focusing on the negative. You should be focusing on the fact that outside of that one game, they've been playing pretty well.
They've been playing better. They still have to tighten up that defense. They're starting to hit as the weather's warming up. I think Tony La Russa is going frickin' senile with some of these lineups he's trotting out there and the stupid-ass decisions he's making here and there. My God, they're winning despite some of his decisions. It's ridiculous.
And of course, today they were postponed because of the Guardians and their COVID situation. So the White Sox are already in for today at 15-14.
Yep.
Second place.
2.5 behind the Twins. They're tightening it up.
They're going to win the division.
So they got to clean up a lot of stuff.
Well, the thing is, they're going to have to clean up a lot of stuff once the playoffs start, because if the Yankees and the Angels keep playing like they're playing, who would have thought the Angels finally are showing all that potential for the last decade is finally starting to rear its ugly head and show up. Yep. Between Ohtani, between Trout. The game last night was crazy.
That was a little insane.
We don't normally talk this much about the Angels, but let's talk about this game last night, because number one, it was packed.
Yeah,
the attendance doubled because it was Shohei Ohtani MVP bobblehead night. So the attendance went from the previous game from, I believe, 19,000 up to 38,000 for last night's game against the Rays. Then they get the rookie, Reed Detmers, throwing the second no-hitter of the year, the first solo.
Yep. Gave up a walk and got a blessed error. that could have been scored either way. I think they threw him a bone there by recording it as an error.
And then what could have been arguably the coolest part of the game was the Rays pretty much conceded the game, and they bring in this particular position player every once in a while. Kevin Cash will bring him in when they're getting blown out to save his bullpen, and let him throw. So he just throws lollipops up there. So Joe Madden sends Anthony Rendon up there, who has never batted lefty in the major leagues ever. And what does he do? He cranks a home run.
That must have been one of those nights.
I'm just going to say that must have been a damn fun game to be at, or a great game to even watch on TV.
Yep, that would be a fun one to have been an Angels fan for.
Yeah, but they are actually playing well. leading in the AL West.
Yep, it's amazing how that goes. Do want to do an update with the Sox with Tim Anderson, my aforementioned error machine. The appeal of his one-game ban was approved. He is just being fined for flipping off the Cleveland fans, which is right and just on both, just being fined and flipping off Guardians fans.
Now, of course, today, so breaking news here. Although by the time this hits, you'll know all about it, kids. But even though they lost in a slugfest to the Reds, the Brewers' Christian Yelich becomes the 6th player in MLB history to hit for the cycle 3 times.
Amazing.
That's pretty impressive accomplishment.
Good.
Yeah, as he hit for the cycle today. But they I think it was 17-12, something like that final score.
Something crazy like that.
Packers versus Bengals.
Yeah. Oh, man.
There are weird rumors out there. A couple stories about the Dodgers. One fact, one weird rumor, maybe possible. But knowing how these sports leagues are working and how much they care now about the international game.
Oh, so sick of the international game.
The LA Dodgers, rumors are that they are discussing playing a series of games in Paris in the summer of 2025.
Is that why the London games are only scheduled for 23, 24, and 26? I believe that the cat is out of the bag on that one.
That's about the best cat I can do, sorry. Yep, I think you just solved the mystery, Dave.
And there you go.
Yep. The other Dodgers news that I've got for you, of course, the Ricketts family, has to, unfortunately for them, I guess, the way they act, focus on the Cubs now because they lost out on their bid to buy Chelsea of the Premier League.
Right.
But part owner of the Dodgers, Todd Boehly, did get approval to buy Chelsea along with a consortium, obviously. $5 billion.
Jeez. For a damn soccer club.
Yeah. And I saw something. We're going to talk a little bit later about the F1 race this past weekend. We'll get to that when we get to our racing segment.
Yeah,
in a
how
few
they're
minutes.
Dicking around Michael Andretti.
Well, plus the whole Miami Grand Prix, the spectacle that it turned out to be.
Yeah, and that's what you get with F1 wherever that circus travels.
But I was reading an article about it. I don't want to digress, but this ties into the whole Chelsea thing, so I'm going to talk about this now while we've got a couple minutes. Talking about how it seems like maybe possibly F1 could now be making inroads, no pun intended, into America, because maybe with the celebrities and the social media influencers that go to these races, that maybe this will appeal to the younger demographic. And then somebody else pointed out the younger demographic, has the attention span of a dog chasing a squirrel,
Yeah.
Squirrel, hydrant.
Squirrel, rabbit. Oh, my tail. But
what have we been told since the 80s about soccer?
That it was
it's the up-and-coming sport. The young kids play it. The young kids love it.
By 1990, it will be the #1 sport in America. Yeah, it hasn't quite gotten there yet.
The logic this article, the F1 article, had about, how the younger generation likes this fast-paced celebrity. Soccer is the most boring goddamn sport on the face of the earth. It is like watching paint dry. Sorry for the get off my lawn, old man, worn out criticism of soccer, but it's still true. It is a dull, boring ass game to watch. And so that's where I see the flaw in this logic where everybody's pushing soccer. They've been pushing it for decades.
The kids play it, yes. But the Major League Soccer clubs here in the States don't draw that much. The men's national team is a joke. The women's national team has done well, but they don't have the monster following that you would think by having won a World Cup.
And plus, they get too wrapped up in politics. So that turns a lot of people, including me, off to even thinking about possibly maybe watching them, especially when it comes time for the Olympics.
Yeah.
But I get tired of the hypocrisy. Baseball's audience is eroding because it's too slow and it's too boring. You got to speed the game up. Then what's the excuse for soccer? Why do you put soccer on a pedestal all the time and rip baseball when they're both slow and boring?
Exactly. I'm sorry, but what are the ratings actually like on when ESPN and NBC cover the European Premier League and all of that?
I am sure they somehow find a way to because what they do is they won't look at the total audience. And again, this is something we'll get to when we talk about the Darlington race versus the Miami Grand Prix and how they're spinning the numbers to make it seem like people like you and I are out of touch because we were watching normally we'd be watching the Darlington race instead of the F1 race.
Yeah. Well, guess what? I had too much damn yard work to do that I couldn't watch any of it.
Cubs currently in a dogfight with the Padres, so we do not have a final Wednesday closing record for them yet.
Hang on, let me do a live update. Bottom of the ninth. Cubs are up 7-5. The Padres have one on, nobody out.
So if that score holds, the Cubs will be 11-19, but still in fourth place in the pathetic NL Central. Of course, if they blow it, which they might, they've already blown the lead once today against the Padres. That will drop them to 10-20.
All right. Should we have a deep discussion about Yankee Stadium being a Little League park?
What was it? The Texas Rangers manager was ripping on it?
Yeah, there have been a few managers who have been calling them out for that short porch. Which, you know what? They built it there. It's about damn time as a team the Yankees are taking advantage of it, because for how many years have they not done anything with it? It's supposed to be their home field advantage, and that's the one thing they had not been able to take advantage of.
Yeah. Yep, and now they finally, at the trade deadline last year, brought in Rizzo and Gallo to take advantage, like you said. Rizzo's been doing it. Gallo, not so much. He's just pathetic.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to not anger the baseball gods because we all know I don't care about the Yankees. I don't like them. I don't care about the Mets. I don't like them.
Nope. But if you're so worried about the short porch, how about you have your guys take advantage of it as a visiting team?
Oh, yeah.
It plays both ways.
Well, that's the thing. You can even take that. We've talked about the shift in the past, and how they want to ban that. Learn how to hit the other way. That's a pretty easy way to beat the shift.
Yep. I don't have a problem with banning the shift. They force you to have so many guys in certain positions on the line in football.
Right. Yep.
They force you in basketball for how long you can be in the paint and what kind of lineup you can have in there.
Yeah.
So hockey, they stop the neutral zone traps.
Yeah. No, I believe the football analogy is the fairest one. Is that if you can regulate how many guys are on the line of scrimmage, then why can't you regulate how many fielders can be on either side of second base?
Yeah.
So.
All right. Should we bring up conspiracy frenzy with
Oh,
Major League Baseball and the baseballs they use during national broadcasts?
Yeah, boy, another one of our old segments. We seem to be doing a lot of that lately. Doing the nostalgia trip. Conspiracy Frenzy, of course, was one of our normal segments way back in the day when we were on cable access.
Yep. Good stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah, again, going back to the Mets, their hitting coach, Eric Chavez, claims Major League Baseball is using juiced balls during their nationally televised games, and the analytics are starting to back him up. Because you've got balls, the dead ball era, because they put them in the humidors before games and whatnot. All right, if you want more offense, why are you doing that? That makes no sense. That's counterproductive right there. But they're starting to show that the humidor balls hit coming off the bat at 100 plus miles an hour are flyouts. The juice balls being used with exit velocities of 95 are going out. You decide what's going on. And of course, it's easy for MLB to do this since they own the frickin' company that makes the baseballs now.
Rawlings.
Yep.
Well, and you wonder now when you talk about quote unquote nationally televised games, you've got Apple on Friday nights. Is that considered a national game?
No, I do not consider
Peacock
Apple.
now just started Sunday morning baseball. Is that considered now? The first game was the White Sox Red Sox. That was on NBC as well with Benetti and Stone.
Yeah, I wish.
And Euclid. That was kind of cool how they did that, where they brought in the color.
Yeah, I wish I would have seen that one, but the Friday night Sox versus Sox, I subjected myself to the Apple broadcast.
Is it as bad as they say?
It was freaking horrible. All they did was talk about stories and different things. They never told you what was going on the field.
Oh, the human interest stuff.
Oh my God, it was pathetic. They just kept rambling on and on and on and on about whatever, never taking a break to say, and there's a strikeout on a wicked curve, or nobody had a clue how to actually call a game. It was absolutely pathetic.
Outside, I would say probably outside of the Olympics, that's about the only the sporting event, whatever you want to call it, where I care about the human interest stories just a little bit. But when we get to team sports, big league sports, baseball, football, college basketball, college football, we don't give a rat's ass, I'm sorry, about these human interest stories.
No.
I don't like them. I don't want to hear them. Like you said, tell me what's going on in the game.
Because let's face it, sometimes I've got it on TV, but I like to listen because I might want to read a book or do something else while the game is ongoing. And I want you to tell me what's going on. Break something down. Think, all right, here we go with this. Let's see if he throws this pitch in this situation. Nothing. No, how are they lined up? Are they playing to prevent a double? Are they got the shift on? Nothing.
So they obviously haven't learned, because now they've had this going on for about 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
And they obviously have not improved from the abysmal reviews that we all heard for their initial broadcast.
Yeah. Oh, it's awful. It's awful. Avoid it like the freaking plague. It's not worth subjecting yourself to, people.
All right, couple miscellaneous tidbits here as we're going to sprinkle these in throughout the show to fill up segments, as we mentioned, kind of a slow sports week. So, damn, I wish I bet on horse racing, and double damn, I wish I'd bet on the long shot at the Kentucky Derby.
No kidding. God, Rich Strike comes thundering out of nowhere along the rail.
80-1. 80-1 shot.
Ugh.
Second long, how do you say it? Second longest shot, second biggest Underdog,
Yeah.
upset of all time in the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, the horse wasn't even scheduled to run. There was a late scratch, and they signed him in that morning. Absolutely crazy. Yeah,
Golf, a little bit of golf. Of course, everybody's going crazy, nutsy cuckoo, because Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson have not withdrawn their names from the next major, which I believe is the PGA Championship.
Woohoo.
But bigger news for Phil Mickelson is what broke last week about how he reportedly lost $40 million gambling over a 4-year stretch about a decade ago.
Ooh.
This guy, I mean, and I've seen this with other people too, other celebrities who are gamblers, who hide it so well, who mask it so well, yet they have wonderful families, wives that stand by them, children who adore them. But boy, this is just the height of irresponsibility for anybody who has a family.
Yeah.
The arrogance involved. Well, I'll make it back with endorsements or on the tour. It's like, how about you don't gamble it away and maybe keep it for your kids, keep it for your wife?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. All right. We have a Bloomington, Indiana high school student trying to qualify for the U.S. Open. Yes, kids, his name is Happy Gilmore.
Oh, no kidding.
No kidding. So good luck to Happy. Let's see if he can do it. Live up to the name.
Yep, and I've got another golf story coming up, tied in to fantasy football, which you will appreciate. Finally, we'll wrap up this segment a little quicker than normal. One of our favorite passengers on the Sports Frenzy plane of doom. Dave, you're gonna have to explain this to me, because I thought Naomi Osaka had this debilitating depression, and she got overwhelmed with stress all the time. That's why she's dropping out of all these tournaments and admonishing people who were booing her and saying, "You don't understand how much you're hurting me." Now, though, she's going to be an entrepreneur and she's going to open her own sports agency.
Yeah, I know.
What kind of confidence does anybody have with her shepherding their career?
I would have zero confidence with her doing anything outside of maybe getting paid a ton of money from Netflix to parade around in a bikini or whatever she does.
She
keeps playing you people for the saps that you are.
Yep. She's continually proving to be the biggest phony that you people keep buying into. Just like Simone Biles, just like Megan Rapinoe, just like Kyrie Irving. We'll get to him in a little bit.
I mean, this whole thing is pathetic. You know,
it makes sense through for her the lies. See through.
Yeah. This is her agent manipulating everything, getting her out there. Oh, play the woe is me card. You'll get this sympathy and more people will buy your shit and support you. Yeah, that ship is sailing, people.
Yeah. And again, don't fall for it. Just don't fall for it. Okay? Nobody's saying we need to go all the way back to the old school days, where we berated young athletes,
Yeah.
But what we're saying is, don't let the pendulum swing all the way the other way. We're now these overpaid, overhyped, overexposed athletes pick and choose when they decide to put out the effort, to put forth this quote-unquote championship mentality.
Yeah.
Well, I can't really perform at this particular Olympics, or I can't really perform at this particular major because I'm really feeling anxiety. Then you're in the wrong career.
Yep, exactly.
I'm sorry. Once you're older and you're done, and in tennis and gymnastics,
It's a
we're
short
talking
time
about
frame.
the mid-30s. Then you'll have all the money, all the accolades, all the fame.
Then you can mellow out. But come on. It's insane.
All right, kids, that's it for segment 1. Dave and I will be right back with NASCAR, our recap of Darlington, comparing that, as we alluded to the spectacle down in South Florida for F1. We'll also have some more little miscellaneous tidbits for you.
Probably a little NBA, a little NFL, a little NHL. Just kind of do a little. Insert some mop-up stuff here and there.
It's that kind of week, kids. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Are you having trouble falling asleep behind the wheel of your expensive SUV? Are you finding difficulty in avoiding golf clubs thrown at you by your angry wife as you pull out of the driveway? Sign up today for the Tiger Woods Driving School, sponsored by Sports Frenzy 2.0. We'll show you how to text ladies of the night while still driving effectively in the wee hours of the morning. We'll also teach you how to ditch a suspicious backpack when you end up driving into a ditch. Check out Sports Frenzy 2.0 on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, for updates on our latest classes, including how to curse and swear in front of uptight golf fans and their children and still be adored by millions. The Tiger Woods Driving School. It's great!
May 11th, 2022. It's Sports Frenzy 2.0. This will hit on Thursday, May 12th. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
Along with the maestro, Kevin Crane.
Segment 2, NASCAR, racing. We got it for you, kids. So let's go back to Darlington and give you a recap of the chaos that had ensued at the Lady in Black.
Yep, your pole sitter was actually your winner, Joey Logano. Pretty much had the best car most of the day. Running out of time at the end, though, in second place as William Byron was trying to hold him off with about a lap and a half to go. And Joey decided, well, I'm just going to run right through Byron.
I'm just going to flat knock his ass out of my way.
Yep.
Not even subtle about it.
If he'd had a couple more laps, maybe he would have. He had a better car. He would have made a cleaner pass.
Yeah, but he got impatient.
He got very impatient. So now those two look like they've got an escalation of this feud, which they were talking about during the post-race interviews, but I don't really remember those two butting heads all that often, but I guess they have.
They have a little bit here and there, and each accuses the other of not giving anybody any quarter and whatever.
Yeah. Of course, Byron kept saying Logano's an idiot.
Yep, moron.
Yep.
And then what was it? Logano called him a bully, being on the track and kind of forcing him up out of his groove when he made the pass on him. Like, dude, it wasn't that big a deal at all. It was a non-existent issue. You got it in your head. You're just a little punk.
So Byron basically gets knocked from being in first place with a couple laps left to out of the top 10.
Yep. And then you've got the biggest baby of them all, in Kyle Busch, just parking his car because he got butthurt again for getting in an accident and stormed off in a huff, as he always does, because he's a jerkwad.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski had issues, hit the wall, and it just happened to be in front of Kyle Busch, and it took Kyle Busch out. So, Dave, let's give him a break, though. He was waiting for the surrogate mother to give birth to his second child. The pressure had been building and building.
I don't care. That's no excuse. He's just an asshole on the track.
He did have his second child.
Yeah, congratulations for that. but you're still a dumbass.
Hey, stop it. You're talking about my possible maybe pick for Kansas City this week.
So, and then my pick for Darlington, Mr. Chastain, running phenomenal. He was the one who was going to give Logano a run for the money. That car was hooked up, wound up lost it on the restart after winning the second stage. Just looped it and hit the inside wall, which took him out.
Yep. And Eric Jones got caught up. My pick in a mess. He had a nice solid run going as well. Wasn't going to win the race, but had a potential, maybe top 5, definite top 10. Yeah. So he got junked out too. So Darlington for our entire panel was not the best.
No, not at all.
The Harvick picks were probably the best. They did okay. Still no wins. And because the 10th place number, our cutoff for the playoffs, jumped up tremendously this past week, we all lost ground.
Yeah, not a good situation.
Nope. So now we move on. We'll get to other news, racing and NASCAR here in a minute. Let's go ahead and knock our picks out, though, for the Advent Health 400 at Kansas Speedway. 13th race, so this will be the halfway point in the regular season. We have 10 different winners so far, so we've already got the people out there going,
could this be the year that it blows up?
Yeah, because somebody was saying, Joey Logano's not locked in yet. What if we get 17 winners? What if we get 18 winners? I said, well, number one, Joey will still get in on points. Probably going to be Austin Cindric would be the first one out.
Probably.
But
man,
I still think we're going to start seeing repeat winners, probably starting this week.
It's probably a good bet to start getting into that.
Cookie cutter tracks.
Yeah.
You know. So I have decided, I had it down to Kyle Busch and William Byron. I went back and forth, and I decided 2 factors would end up making my decision for me this week.
Number one being with my bad luck on picks taking Lord Byron.
No. Yeah, Dave's got William Byron. Now, number one, I think the pressure is going to be off Kyle Busch, my pick, because the baby is now healthy, born.
That's fine, but he still doesn't have a contract for next season.
Less pressure. Let's say less pressure. Not no pressure, less pressure. But number 2, I'll tell you what worries me about Byron. What happens when he and Logano start racing next to each other? Is one or the other going to be a jackass?
They could potentially come down to it. We'll see what happens. Again, back-to-back wins have not really been there.
Yeah, that's why.
Usually if you win, the next race, you pretty much suck. So
yeah. I'm 100% with you on that because I had Logano penciled in initially for this race. And then he wins last week. I'm like, nope, no back-to-back. I'm with you.
If we're looking at everything, he's not even going to sniff a top 5.
Yeah. So Kyle Busch for Kev, William Byron for Dave. Sam is going to go with normally what would be a solid pick for Kansas, but because of the way he's just run this year.
That team is just not gelled yet.
Nope, they're still coming together, so he's going with Brad Keselowski. Bill is going back-to-back Happy Harvick.
Starting to run a little better. I still don't know that I would be there yet.
Agreed. We've got Nick's pick in. He's going with the favorite, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson's the favorite every week.
Yeah, pretty much.
Doug is going with Chase Elliott. And Aaron is going with the clean Busch, Kurt Busch.
Kurt.
So right now, 7 for 7 different picks. This week,
so
Mrs. C still pending. Couple hours to go before our deadline.
We'll see what happens there.
Dave, why don't you tell the kids about the Hall of Fame class?
I haven't even paid attention to the
Hall of Fame class. I set you up perfectly. First year of eligibility. Matt Kenseth gets in.
I'm okay with that. Kenseth has been a solid driver. Wasn't overwhelming, but he put up decent numbers. Are there others out there that probably should have been there before him? Yeah.
What's his claim to fame?
Winning a championship without winning a race.
And because of that,
he instituted the whole new point system because they couldn't have
the playoffs.
that.
We got the playoffs because of Matt Kenseth
winning a championship based on consistency,
but not wins.
Consistency is what had always driven it.
About the points.
It's all about getting the points. So
Kirk Shelmerdine.
Yep.
Got in.
Yep. Had a brief little career as a driver, but his big claim was being the mechanic, the head crew chief for Richard Childress Racing and Dale Earnhardt during the big run through the 80s.
Yep. So those two are the most notable. This is really kind of an underwhelming class. There were another couple people that got in, but nobody, of note.
Yeah. Not the bigger names.
Yeah, I already know that most people out there don't like us talking about NASCAR as it is, so we're not going to do a deep dive into the Hall of Fame. And
I think we should do it just to piss Dave off. Yes, I'm singling you out this week.
He might be one of the few people that actually does want to hear that stuff. SRX is closing in.
Getting close. Oh, this is going to be fun.
And Chase Elliott has committed to run in the finale, the final race of the 2022 SRX season. We've already talked about the fact that Blaney's will be in one of the races. So I'm glad to see SRX is catching on.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a good way to kill a couple hours on a Saturday night, or even if you DVR it.
Yep.
Check it out later on.
Yep.
It's fun. The broadcasts, they make them entertaining.
And I've got to believe, again, we were talking about this in the last segment. We'll get to it here in a sec. The younger demographics, I can't believe the younger demographics are watching SRX. So somehow, some way, they're pulling in enough numbers from people like you and I that they're renewing it and they're keeping it going and they're keeping it on primetime Saturday night television. So let's not always, again, get wrapped up in what...
Yeah, let's face it.
The snowflake
everybody is
Gen Z's
sick of the stupid-ass dancing, singing, variety, stupid human trick shows that they run out there time in and time out. It's just ridiculous.
I'm going to go on a tangent here for a second just because you made me think of it with the dancing and all that. There is a Coca-Cola commercial out there right now that drives me fucking insane because it's the perfect example of showing how the younger generation is so entitled and selfish. And I know you've probably seen this. It's been on for about a month, and it's on during pretty much every sporting broadcast. The young girl trying to do her TikTok video.
Oh, with the family getting in the way and then the delivery driver.
Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, because, mom and dad bought her food, she's happy. But she's getting mad and giving the angry looks. Mom's bringing her goddamn laundry into her room. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Mom's bringing a sack of clean laundry into her room because Princess
can't do it herself
because she's too busy doing lame TikTok videos
for 2 or 3 of her friends to watch.
Yeah. Like the guy in the like Mayhem says in the Allstate commercial. This will get tens and tens of views.
This will get tens of views, yes.
Yeah, just stop it. Stop it with this crap. Stop appealing to the stupidity. ADD generation.
Stop appealing to the social media crap that is destroying this country.
One more NASCAR tidbit, and then we're going to move on to compare Darlington to the Miami Grand Prix. William Byron, no shocker here, got a 3-year extension through 2025.
Yeah,
with Hendricks
not
Motorsports.
Surprised.
No, arguably the best young driver out there. So, All right, So this Miami Grand Prix we've been alluding to here for the better part of our show this week. Did you see all the bells and whistles that went into this as they built it around Hard Rock Stadium?
Oh, yeah. The city of Miami shelled out so much money to bring Formula One over. It's not even funny.
Yeah,
the cost.
They built beaches in the infield. They built a marina, a landlocked marina, and they had boats floating in this marina.
The expectations that Formula One has are absolutely insane. And it's all about the rich and famous showing up. This is all about money and fame. The average person does not get to attend a Formula One event.
Great segue for my next point, because I was going to say, who can afford to go see this race? Tickets, bare minimum, for practice were $150.
Yeah.
For the race, general admission, bare minimum, $500.
Yeah. Why do you think back when they had the F1 race down at Indy, we were looking at going, and it was going to be almost $200 a ticket? And I was like, yeah, no, sorry, bye-bye.
Yeah. Now, they did expect, who knows what the final numbers will be in terms of if they made money, if they lost money. They were expecting 240,000 people. At those prices, even with all the infrastructure investments they put in, they might have made some money on it.
They could have, but that's what you get for Formula One. It's all about the ritz and glamour and the who's who can you get to show up.
And they had plenty of celebrities show up.
Because they're the only ones who could afford the freaking ticket prices. And I'm sure to get them there, the hotels comped them. It would not surprise me at all.
Yep. Now, in terms of ratings, the Miami Grand Prix was the second biggest audience all time for F1. The interesting thing, which I wanted to compare and contrast, is that in the end, the ratings, overall ratings, for the Darlington race and the Miami Grand Prix, which were on at the same time, were almost identical. But of course, once again,
you have to skew.
You got to look at the demographics and say all the old folks were watching the NASCAR race.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I know one or two people that love F1 who are older than us. So
occasionally I do sit down and watch an F1 race. Once in a while. They're not that competitive. And they've gotten better.
They're a lot shorter than NASCAR races for the most part, too.
They are.
The Miami Grand Prix was done. The two races started at roughly the same time. The Miami Grand Prix was done.
It's usually about an hour and a half.
Darlington wasn't even halfway done yet.
Yeah. No, F1, the races usually run about an hour and a half.
Yep.
But then these prima donnas can't take being in a car any longer than that.
Look at Dave. Dave's a little bit more bitter than I thought he'd be about this.
Oh, no, I just hate the whole prima donna, oh, we're better than anybody attitude that these guys have. Their whole cliquish mentality that unless you pony up $1 billion minimum to join, which they're trying to get from Michael Andretti, and they have to prove they can bring in more sponsorship money, more viewership and advertising, so it doesn't take money out of the pockets of the other teams that are already there.
Oh, jeez.
It's all about the money. And they've got their 10 teams that they get that and they don't want to share. They don't want to let anybody else in.
Interesting. Now, in terms of the race itself, Max Verstappen won. It was a boring race by all accounts. I believe
Most of them are.
I believe he took the lead early on, maybe lap 8, and he never gave it up.
Yeah,
so.
that's typically what you get from Formula One.
Yep.
Very rarely do you have a competitive race.
Yep. All right, kids, moving on. Let's talk a little football. The NFL schedule will be out tomorrow. It's been leaking here, leaking there. We talked last week about some of the overseas games, leaking like a Depends
those are
diaper.
Coming up. Yeah.
But tomorrow night, officially, the schedule comes out. Overblown, overhyped. I don't care.
No,
I really don't. It'll be posted 10 minutes after they announce it, and then we already know the teams everybody's playing. It's just a matter of when which ones are prime time, which ones are national. So la-di-da. Sorry, la-di-da. I don't care.
So what was it? I was listening to the score out of Chicago today, and they had Mike Florio on.
Oh!
And they were
God, he is our age, and he is the biggest fucking snowflake I've ever heard in my life. I watched that show with him and pothead Chris Sims for a couple months during the COVID thing.
Yeah.
Just to have something to watch. They are awful.
They are.
Between the two of them, I don't think they have a pair of testicles. And we know they've only got one spleen.
Right. Anyway, he brought up that, everything leaks. But again, if the NFL wanted to really put the screws to all the other sports, Monday, you release all the international games. Tuesday, you release your primetime schedule. Wednesday, you release your divisional. Stretch it out through Thursday night for the bulk of it.
Just like the draft. Draft is three days, 3 nights.
So he said if the NFL really wanted to keep almost a week-long news cycle again to hose everyone else with the playoffs going on in 2 of the other major sports, there's a way that they could do it again.
Yep. That's a good point. So, he can go now back to Chris Sims and they can smoke a bowl together and talk about how much they hate Donald Trump. Jerry Jones had a car accident this past week.
Did somebody finally sever the brake lines on his car?
By all accounts, everything's okay. No big deal.
Yeah, whatever.
Your Dolphins had the one interesting signing this week. How many running backs?
Holy crap.
How many running backs do you guys need? 12.
I think we're halfway there.
And the only thing I could think when I saw that was, God damn, once again, why can't the Bears do something like this? Why can't the Bears bring him in?
I don't know.
Jesus Christ, the Bears aren't going to win 3 games this year.
Yeah.
With this skeleton crew they're going to field.
The problem I have with the Dolphins is
you and your 6th and 7th round picks you adore so much. We've got all those guys.
Yeah. Anyway, the problem I have with the Dolphins this week, the footage they released of Tua throwing a deep pass completion to Tyreek Hill, as long as they were practicing, they couldn't find a better pass than the wobbly floater that Hill had to slow up for.
Ooh.
That's the one they released on social media. That's the best one they had.
Well, I was actually going to ask you if they photoshopped it to make it look like a nice tight spiral.
Oh, no, it was a wobbler, and Hill had to pull up to bring it in.
I'm telling you, and I'm not ripping on the Dolphins, but that could end up being the biggest waste of money.
I said that right from the beginning, that we did not have a quarterback with an arm to complement that speed.
The running backs make sense. You've got a quarterback with a weenie arm, the running backs make sense. Jalen Waddle makes sense. A slot receiver makes sense. You should never have invested what you did in Tyreek Hill. because now all he's going to be is a kick returner. Basically, that's his only threat.
Or
he's not going to be a threat as a receiver.
Or he's going to be the 2-yard swing pass to try and get the big gain on, which is good. Oh, I hate that fucking play. Ugh.
Because the Bears try to run it all the goddamn time. Doesn't matter who the head coach is.
Anybody, every NFL team runs that. And 98% of the time, it is for a loss.
Hate it. Yep. All right, finally, wrapping up the NFL here on segment 2. Couple of announcers. Again, wacky, crazy, silly season for NFL broadcast announcers.
Teams announced that aren't even ready to be paired yet.
Let's start off with the more I can't believe I'm gonna say subdued, subtle of the two. But rumors are Richard Sherman is in discussions to join the Amazon Thursday night crew.
You know, that's probably the best place for him because nobody is going to be watching the Amazon Thursday night broadcast.
Well, I'm hoping they put him on I really hate to subject my babe Kay Adams to him, but better that because I won't watch the pregame. Then please don't put him in the booth for the game because I might actually watch the game. Now, it's still supposedly going to be Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit.
Right.
I do not want to hear Richard Sherman because I can't stand the guy, number one. He's a pretentious asshole. He's basically football's answer to Kyrie Irving. And number two, it'd be almost like probably end up listening to Aqib Talib.
I was going to say, I've heard that they're going to pair them in the booth together.
Oh, my God. Matter and antimatter, cats and dogs mating. Jesus God. Oh.
No, let's at least wait and hear him out.
No, he's got to be better than Aqib Talib. Aqib Talib is already the bottom of the barrel.
He is the worst.
No, I think Richard Sherman could be intelligent, but the problem is he's also going to get political. He's gonna be a little bit too, I don't know.
Well, let's
street for me, I guess is the best way to put it.
Potentially, let's wait and see what he does.
All right. Finally, the big one.
The big one. Reported 10-year, $375 million deal to be lead analyst in the broadcast with Kevin Burkhardt on Fox Sports when he finally decides to retire. Tom Brady.
Boom! Boom! Huge news. Unbelievable in the fact that Brady, nobody that I had ever heard on any kind of CBS, Fox, NBC, any of the big NFL network had never even talked about Tom Brady becoming an analyst, and especially the minute he gets done playing.
Yeah.
If Peyton Manning's not doing it, why would Tom Brady do it? Well, guess what? We were wrong. And then they decided to pay him more
than anybody.
He's going to get paid more than Aikman and Romo combined.
That's scary crazy.
Boy, I mean, I could see him being good, but that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of pressure to put on him, too.
Well, I don't think the pressure is going to be the problem. I don't know how good he's going to be.
That's what I mean. You know he's going to have at least a year's learning curve.
Well, and here's the other part of this. So now Fox does the end around after they lose Buck and Aikman and ends up showing up to the party late and going, boom, here we go. Here's the Dom Perignon for you. But now, whether it's Greg Olson or somebody else who's going to end up having to take that
interim
number one interim role with Burkhardt for a year or two until the GOAT decides to just push him aside.
This is where Olson comes in to shine, to knock Collinsworth out of the frickin' booth on NBC.
Well, yeah, you could see that. Collinsworth's probably getting near the end. I like him more than you, obviously.
Obviously. Collinsworth I used to love, but the last few years, he has become that announcer that picks up on somebody or one team and just goes and goes and goes. He's lost any and all partiality that he had.
Well, and here's the other thing. Haven't they already committed to once Collinsworth calls it quits? Isn't Drew Brees supposed to be the heir apparent?
Oh, God, I don't know. They could
I would hope,
change that.
I would hope they could reconsider that.
I would hope they would
because
reconsider.
what little we've seen, Drew Brees
Drew
doesn't look
Brees
like he's ready.
No.
We know Greg Olsen calls a good game. He does. He does call a very good
polished.
Game. Yep. So there you go, kids. Where's Sports Frenzy's money? Dave and I'll do. We'll take half of Brady's money.
No kidding.
Between us. We'll split it.
We'll split it.
Put us on.
Come
we'll
on.
Take it. We're better than Tirico and Collinsworth. Come on.
Easily. We won't pull any punches.
You just have to do the 5-second delay and have the
the
bleep
beat button there.
But we'll do it for half the price. We'll even do 2 games a week. That's how generous we are.
That's right.
But you're paying for food and hotels and airfare.
Oh, they're putting us up and everything. Yeah.
All right, kids. Segment 2 is done. Segment 3 coming up.
The mop up.
Yep, lots of miscellaneous. We'll talk NBA, NHL, couple dumbasses, some moments of silence. So hang with us, won't you? We'll be right back. Feeling mildly fatigued? Need a day off even if you just took one a few days ago? Make $30 million a year but just don't want to work for it? You need to join the NBA Load Management Club right now. When they're not napping or texting, guest lecturers Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving will describe foolproof ways to earn tens of thousands of dollars by not doing anything. Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, is currently negotiating with LeBron James to bring his popular How to Make the Hall of Fame Without Really Trying webinar live and in person to the Load Management Club. Thanks again to Sports Frenzy 2.0 and all you apathetic fans out there for making us a success. Time to wrap things up, kids. Segment 3 here. May the 11th, 2022. I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
Welcome back to Sports Frenzy 2.0. And as always, we have to let you know we're available Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher! Can't really call it a true episode until we go through that.
This is true.
Giving props to all the platforms that dare to have Sports Frenzy on.
Those with the balls to keep us on.
That's right. All right, NBA. The playoffs are in full swing. Unfortunately, they've been kind of dull, kind of boring. We figured by now, maybe, with the final 8 teams, things would be picking up a little bit. But these series are pretty much going according to plan.
Back and forth. They're going to go the distance, it looks.
Yeah, right now, again, as we tape, Phoenix over Dallas, 3-2. Golden State over Memphis, 3-1. That one could end tonight.
Could be the one to
because
finish
Ja
early.
Morant is hurt for the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
He's doubtful to return, even if they were to somehow miraculously advance. So that one I think could end tonight. They're playing Game 5 later on here.
Yeah.
Bucks and Celtics are knotted at 2-2.
Yep. Currently, breaking news, they're in the third. Celtics are up by 360-57 at this moment.
And the Sixers and the Heat are up 3-2. So by next week, we will know who the Final Four are.
Yep.
In the NBA. Looking like maybe finally we will get some great basketball next week if we get Golden State and Phoenix in the West.
That could be a knockdown, drag-out series.
I will watch that.
I will pay close attention to that one.
The East could be interesting. The problem is, for me, the Sixers and the Heat series, whoever comes out of that, doesn't have a lot of panache. I don't like the Sixers.
No, they're just kind of they plod along. They don't impress you. kind of like the way the Celtics and the Bucks do.
Yeah, I just think for some reason I got a feeling either the defending champion, if the Bucks get through, or the Celtics with that core of all those players they drafted, and they've been able to keep them together. I like the winner of that series. I know Miami's going to have home court if they win, but I don't know, that West matchup could be phenomenal. That could be an all-time good one.
You would expect one of those two to win it all.
Yep.
And those were the two favorites going into the season as well.
But I think we thought that last year with Phoenix, thinking they'd just be able to steamroll the Bucks, and the Bucks came out.
They put up.
So maybe finally, hopefully, after months and months and months and months, the NBA will get interesting.
Maybe. I wouldn't count on it.
MVP for the second straight year, Nikola Jokic, center for the Denver Nuggets. Of course, we just talked about the 76ers, Joel Embiid, of course, complaining, whining, bitching, pissing, moaning, crying, because, of course, he's an NBA superstar. That's all they do.
Right. That's all they know how to do.
But he's mad because he didn't get considered this year or didn't win it this year.
Wah. How about you put up better numbers?
Yep.
Hell, a case could have been made for a couple of guys. But I'm actually surprised they went back to back.
Yeah, but to me, it doesn't surprise me because this is how all the sports leagues tend to operate. The NFL, if Aaron Rodgers has a good year, they're going to defer to him.
And why?
If in baseball, Mike Trout has a good year, they're going to defer to him.
It's a bunch of crap.
And right now, it's Jokic. Jokic is the favored son in the NBA, and if he has a good year, they're going to defer to him. Yeah, Giannis. What about Giannis? You know, he won it a couple years ago. I'll tell you what, I am learning to love Giannis. He is
his game,
special player. He is, to me,
the way he plays the game.
Blasphemy for most of the people out there. Dave will not give me a hard time, though. He'll probably agree with me. From what I've seen of Giannis over the last 3 or 4 years, he's better than LeBron.
Oh, yeah. Hands down.
Better than LeBron. Take them both at their prime, I'll still take Giannis.
Yeah, Giannis plays as a teammate.
He doesn't have to be surrounded with superstars and hand-picked players of his choosing and move from port to port to port to port. Giannis is staying in Milwaukee. He wants to be in Milwaukee.
He plays a team game. That's what I love about him.
And all the NBA fans out there right now are having strokes and aneurysms. How could you say that Giannis is better than LeBron? I just said it. Deal with it.
Next topic.
Retreads in terms of coaching. We talked about the MVP. Now, Monty Williams won Coach of the Year. Well-deserved.
Well-deserved.
But he's a retread. He was with the Pelicans there for a while. That mess, that disaster down in New Orleans.
He was given nothing down there.
So now you want to talk about a retread. The Sacramento Kings are going to hire Mike Brown as their new head coach.
Is he still alive?
Former Cavaliers coach, former Lakers coach.
Good God.
Will now be trying to steer the ship, right the course for the Sacramento Kings. Good luck with that.
No kidding. That's just a train wreck.
Yeah. That's one of the bottom feeders in the league that I don't see getting good anytime soon. Of course, misery continues for the New Jersey Nets, the Brooklyn Nets. One of those things I can never, ever get used to because as a Dr. J fan, I always think of them as the New Jersey Nets because, of course, that's where Dr. J ruled supreme for so many years. The Brooklyn Nets, after all the things that happened this year, the Harden mess, and then a trade to get Ben Simmons. Now Ben Simmons might not be the snowflake we thought he was. He might not be the NBA's version of Naomi Osaka. He actually did have to have back surgery.
Oh, well, there you go. Why did he wait so damn long to get it done, though?
That will be interesting next year to see if he can come back and what his attitude will be when he does.
Ugh.
Now, of course, we always have to talk about bad behavior from fans. Going back to the Dallas Mavericks Phoenix Suns series, Game 4. A Dallas fan was removed for harassing Chris Paul's family. I heard he was trying to hug them.
There were a couple of fans who have now been...
Sister and mother?
Yeah, Chris Paul's family. The fans were trying to hug Paul's family.
Yeah.
And these guys are now... There's a couple of them that have been banned from the rest of the postseason.
Right.
They'll still be allowed to get tickets next year. Okay. You know what? That's fine. I'm good with that they can't do any more postseason stuff. Sometimes the teams go overboard with banning fans for different things. So this is actually probably sounds about right.
Yeah, since initially you hear Dallas fans harassing Chris Paul's family and you think, oh, come on. That's about as low as it gets. This didn't sound completely hostile.
It wasn't hostile. It was just inappropriate contact.
Yep. One final thing in the NBA, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dave to discuss the NHL. One of those rumors is percolating. San Antonio Spurs have asked permission to play 2 home games coming up in Austin, Texas. So now the San Antonio Spurs fans are freaking out because they also recently got passed over for a soccer team that they were in consideration for.
And they lost out
to Austin.
The Spurs owner has had to come out to reassure the people of San Antonio that it's just a couple of games. He is from San Antonio. The Spurs would be nothing without the people of San Antonio. They will not be moving. So he says.
My question is, why do you have to have a couple games in Austin? What's the point of that? Oh, we're expanding our brand.
Just like Buffalo expanded into Toronto.
You're expanding the bullshit.
Exactly.
Because I'm sorry.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yep. I'm telling you, the minute they start asking for these kind of concessions and say, well, can we play a couple games here?
No.
Can we play a couple games there? It's like
stop screwing your fan base.
The most extreme example was in baseball last year, when the Rays said, can we split our schedule between here and Montreal?
Yeah. Because they want to go back to Montreal.
They want to go back and become the Expos. Because they can't get anybody to go to that shithole Tropicana Dome in Tampa. And they can't get a new stadium. Between them and what's going on in Oakland, they have got to get those 2 teams figured out. Because they're not bad franchises per se.
No, it's just...
They shouldn't be held hostage and be held down because of bad stadiums.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating for everybody.
What about hockey? Let's talk hockey.
Hockey.
That's an awful, awful Canadian accent.
So, yes, the first round of the playoffs are ongoing. So you got most of them are going to game 6s here. Not overly exciting right now, but the big news coming out of San Jose, Patrick Marleau is hanging up his skates after 23 seasons. This guy was a stalwart in the league, awesome player. Reported great teammate. He was always fun to watch.
And
I hated to play against him, but you appreciated the way he played the game.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't he have the record for most games played?
He does, I believe, at this point.
Look at me. Look at me. Having a little bit of hockey knowledge.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the end of an era, really. 23 years playing. It's a hell of a run.
Now, of course, the draft has been the order has been set. The Montreal Canadiens got the number 1 pick.
Yep.
Fortunately, I saw the Blackhawks had traded their pick away, so they're nowhere near the high points.
Yeah, they're just toast.
The first half of the first round.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Islanders fire head coach Barry Trotz.
My God, there's another retread. Barry Trotz should not get another head coaching gig ever again.
I heard the exact opposite. Number one, the Islander fans are not happy that he got fired. They didn't think he deserved it. And number two, they're saying he will get a job almost immediately.
My God, he's
once the season
goes
is done.
Everywhere.
He's been everywhere, man.
Yeah,
He's been everywhere.
God. For as good as he's supposed to be, he can never put any team over the top.
Sounds and like his Marty Schottenheimer syndrome.
Yep, pretty much. He'll get you there, but he won't cross the finish line.
Yep.
He was like Mike Keenan.
All right, one final little tidbit on NCAA basketball, and then we'll move on to our moments of silence and then our dumbasses. Dave's favorite head coach has decided to take a stand and tell other college basketball coaches to shut up and adjust when it comes to these NIL deals. Mike Bray took a break from his 14th martini the other day.
Yeah, no kidding. He dusted himself off of Skid Row.
to tell everybody, stop complaining, deal with it. It is what it is.
You got to coach around it.
Yep. So I was not going to put him in dumbasses. I thought that was kind of interesting for him to have some spine, some backbone.
Which you wouldn't expect from somebody out of the Coach K tree.
Well, yeah, because he's too busy drinking Pedialyte to get over his hangover from last night. All right, moments of silence. I think first and foremost has to be NBA Hall of Famer
Bob Lanier.
Didn't really get to see much of him when I was a kid, little before my time.
Yeah.
But I do remember.
Center for the Pistons and the Bucks.
Yep. Do remember the legacy. He was one of those old school guys I remember hearing about, like Willis Reed, Jerry West, when I first started watching basketball in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, the guys who played as a teammate.
The respect for those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thoughts and prayers to the family of Bob Lanier. Then you got the tragic story out of Orlando, Florida.
Oh, my God. This was heartbreaking.
Adrian Payne from Michigan State, former first-round pick of the Atlanta Hawks in 2014, shot to death in Orlando.
Sitting in his car with his girlfriend because they went to help his girlfriend's friend in a domestic violence situation. And the shooter was the abuser and didn't like the fact that they were involved. And under the, I felt threatened, so I stood my ground because I thought he had a gun, he was drawing, so I shot him. No, the guy had to go back into his house, get a gun, came back out, and shot him. Oh, I hate this stuff. And the victim did not have a gun on him.
Yeah, I know. This is the kind of stuff that makes gun control a very touchy subject because just like free speech, basic constitutional right, but people somehow always find a way to fuck it up for the rest of us.
Yep. Some guy who, I'm big and bad when it comes to beating up on my woman, but if I'm called out on it, he's a fucking pussy. He couldn't take a beat down like a man. He had to resort to this.
So thoughts and prayers to the family of Adrian Payne, of course, MSU. Played for a brief time, I think, with the Magic. That's probably why he was down in Orlando.
Down in Orlando. trying to be a good Samaritan.
Yep. Now, the one story I want to give you before we get to the dumbasses, because this isn't a dumbass story, but I alluded to it earlier. I don't have my notes on it, but I'll give you a synopsis. So there was this guy. We've talked about fantasy football in the past. We love it. We have fun with the Sports Frenzy League. But we have watched the show called The League. We have
One of the best comedies of all time.
We have heard stories about other leagues in real life where they have ridiculous penalties for the last place team. We, of course, have a trophy called the Epic Fail for whoever loses overall
in the fight.
And then we have the banner of shame
for losing
for fantasy football. So we do have a couple of those awards.
But we don't go stupid.
No, you just have to display
the
banner or the trophy for a year.
It doesn't cost stupid money. It's not stupid embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff where people have to get their head shaved, things like that. Story I heard this week might take the cake, though. Guy lost in his fantasy football league. This is the part you're going to love. The league is called the Shiva League.
Shiva, Kameen.
Going, of course, back to the league. His punishment, again, not a dumbass thing, but his punishment was he had to attempt to qualify as an amateur for a PGA Tour event.
Dope!
And they found a loophole. They had this all set up where whoever lost their fantasy league, they found a loophole at a local course that was hosting a PGA
qualifying
Tour
event.
Right. They found a way to get anybody in their group who wanted to do it, who ended up being last place, could do it. So this guy had to go out and qualify. I don't know a specific score, but I want to say I think it was about 118. So there was some humiliation
there, finishing dead last.
Yep. So I thought that would be an interesting little tidbit to pass along.
That's fun. I can appreciate that.
But now we have to move on to the true stupidity in the sports world this week. Yes, it is time for some dumbasses of the week. You want me to start? I'm going to start with one of our favorites who's already got a seat on the plane of doom. We talked about Naomi Osaka, of course, early on. She's on there. But, of course, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
You've talked about the fact that we got to start putting people on the wing, right? Near the engines.
Yes. The wing seats.
Yeah. We just don't
say
somebody's in the front seat.
Yeah, where the emergency door is welded shut.
Yeah. Yep. And if there is any kind of a slide, you know how they have those slides that inflate?
Yeah.
No, those things have got
gone.
Yeah, those have got like spikes and snakes and scorpions in them. So those aren't going to work either.
Those are the things that are welded shut.
Kyrie Irving, of course, we alluded to earlier with the Ben Simmons back surgery, how this year was, again, an epic fail for the Brooklyn Nets, which I loved beyond belief.
Yeah.
The two things I wanted to see were the Lakers fail and the Nets fail. And the sports gods shined on me this year and let them both happen quickly. But Kyrie Irving is now coming out and saying he is a martyr. This
guy's ego is just so overblown.
Yeah, he had this interview where he's talked about being a martyr. He talked about how he's got a talent canvas that he's still working on. And I was happy to see a story come out here within the last day or two where the Nets have said, we expect more of a commitment from here on out.
Sean Marks, the quote is, we need people here that want to be here, that are selfless, that want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And there's an objective and there's a goal at stake. In order to do that, we're going to need availability from everybody.
And the sad thing is, as great as that all sounds,
they're going to let him do whatever the hell he wants.
He's up for a contract extension. And they're talking about giving him a 5-year, $250 million contract extension.
Why? Why do you want that headache and nightmare? He's not worth it.
Because he's tied in with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, for some reason, likes him.
Guess what? You don't want Kevin Durant either. If you're going down that road, sorry.
Boy, then that would be the most epic, disastrous failure of all time. For them to bring in Durant, Irving, Harden, get rid of Harden, less than a year after they acquired him?
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't work.
The head case from the Sixers, who hasn't played yet.
Which shows me that the Nets don't know what they're doing in putting this team together when you bring in all the head cases together. If you want the commitment, you have done nothing to support the statement you just said.
Yep. I completely agree. I would tell Kevin Durant, I know you said ship them all out. I would say Kevin Durant, take him aside, say, listen, we like you, we want you here, but you're not running
You're
this
not
team.
the GM.
We've seen what happened with LeBron James in Los Angeles. You're not the GM. And remember, Durant and Irving last year when they first started this little adventure were the ones that were talking about they didn't need a coach. So poor Steve Nash gets pulled into this with these two prima donnas saying, oh, we don't really need a coach. It's collaborative.
Yeah, no. The only collaboration
Which means
is how you can screw the team
Which
over.
means there is no leadership structure.
Yeah.
And that means chaos.
And obviously you've seen that, and that's what led them to be nowhere near the playoffs.
Yep. I got one more real quick. I did not see if NASCAR corrected this going back to Dover. But, of course, we remember the picture of Denny Hamlin on Monday racing his own tire.
Off pit road.
Right. So, of course, penalties ensued.
Right.
The thing is, I had heard from a reliable source that NASCAR suspended the wrong person on the pit crew. They, of course, penalized the crew chief, but they got the wrong tire
changer.
There had been a change a few hours before the race where the guy who was supposed to be the tire changer for the tire that flew off swapped out with the guy behind the wall. So they ended up suspending
the wrong person.
The guy behind the wall instead of the guy who actually ended up being the tire changer.
Yeah, that sounds like something stupid NASCAR would do.
Yep.
Not paying attention to anything.
Again, never heard of any rectification of the situation.
God forbid you actually look at the name on the back of the crew member's fire suit.
The thing. There's video footage showing that they're suspending the wrong guy, and but they went with what was listed
because they're idiots.
You got any for us this week?
I do not. I was going to use the Mavericks fans that we called out earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
That's all good.
I stepped on Dave's toes.
And then we used Naomi Osaka for starting hers, so we're fine.
I'm sorry. I guess that's it, kids. We're going to wrap it up for this week.
Yep. Stay tuned. Tune in Saturday morning for the weekend edition. We've got some music, concert review.
Yep, some miscellaneous movie reviews, lots of TV and streaming stuff to get taken care of. Some seasons ended that we need to give our reviews of.
Yep, stuff starting up that we're going to give you some early previews on.
Yep, of course, we will always have celebrity dumbasses each and every week, some moments of silence. So be sure to check out the weekend edition this coming Saturday morning.
Yep. Shoot us a line. Let us know what you think.
Check out the Facebook page where we will always post our NASCAR picks.
Yep.
And our football picks.
Feel free to comment there.
Yes. So, for Dave,
For Kevin.
We are Sports Frenzy 2.0. We hope you have a great week. And again, check us out for the weekend. We'll talk to you later, kids.